melting away there, and the whole idea is to create a syrup. We're going to coat the nuts in that syrup, and then we're going to slam it into the oven for about 20-25 minutes or so. But we got to make the the syrup for it first. Syrup means sugar. Yeah, quite a bit of sugar, but we are doing just over 4 pounds of nuts. Water, a teaspoon of curry powder, half a teaspoon of cinnamon. If you wanted to add half a teaspoon of cumin, not roasted cumin, just cumin. I want just a tiny bit of this ground ginger in there, and it's going to give it that warming sort of peppery note as well too. So that's about half a teaspoon of ground ginger. We need quite a bit of black pepper. It is called spicy nuts for a reason. So beyond the spices, which is the curry powder and the cinnamon, as well as that, I guess ginger may be considered a spice in this form as well. So black pepper. And for the heat spice element, I've got my hot habanero honey here, and the honey will work well in here because I was going to put honey anyways, but it gives me an opportunity to add that bit of heat that I want with that habanero honey. So all I'm going to do now, if you don't have habanero honey and you want to just use honey with pepper flakes, yeah, you can rock that as well. We're going to bring this up to a boil. We're going to make sure, not a boil, but we just want to melt and combine everything together. It will only take about 4 or 5 minutes for it to fully melt and incorporate. And I'm using a whisk because whenever you're working with powder, ginger, as well as cinnamon, I find that it clumps together. So I like to whisk it just to break down any sort of clumps. And you can see it's all nice and melty melt. Now my oven is preheated. 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll shut the stove off here. Over here where I have my assortment of nuts. These are unsalted, but they have been roasted before. If you want to use salted nuts, yo man, it's really up to you. It doesn't make a huge difference from my experience. Anyways, I have about 4 pounds of mixed nuts here. And you can see pecans, cashews, almonds, pistachios, peanuts. There's melting inside here, and if you head over to the Costco or Sam's Club, I guess you will find it at a really good price, because let's face it, nuts can be expensive, yeah? And all we want to do now is to sort of coat the nuts with this syrup that we created here. I'm just gonna hit that another quick stir, like so. And I'm just gonna pour it all over, yeah? And I'm going to go in with a spoon or spatula or something and give it a good mixy mix. This can go into the sink for now to cool down. And what you want to do is to line parchment paper onto your cookie sheet, a solid cookie sheet, something that will withstand the heat inside there. 350. You're going to put it on that cookie sheet, slam it into the oven for 10 minutes. And then we'll pull it out, toss it, and yo man, I just realized what yeah. Anyhow, I went off track there with my little lingo. Toss and pull out, and I'm not about to dirty another spoon. So the same spoon I was using earlier. Just want to give that a good mix. And it's important that you mix this thoroughly, because you want to coat all of the nuts with that spicy, buttery syrup that we have on the bottom there. And earlier I said habanero honey. It could be Scotch bonnet. I can't remember which pepper I used, but either one will work. If you have a hot honey made with pepper flakes, Scotch bonnet, habanero, whatever you made yours with. And the recipe for that is over at CaribbeanPot.com, yeah? So I'm just gonna make sure I give this a good toss, and then on to my lime cookie tray. Now earlier I mentioned I was doing, I think, 4 pounds of mixed nuts. I decided I'm going to make gifts for everyone this holiday season with this spice glazed nut. So I doubled up on the recipe just for my own purposes. But for your purposes, the 4 pounds, actually you would get away with 5 pounds of mixed nuts if you wanted to use, if you want to go in proportion with the glaze that we created. I created a bit more glaze, and you can see it's all in these cookie sheets, cookie trays lined with parchment paper. And the reason why the parchment paper is it's not, you know, some of you may know parchment paper as being white. This one here is unbleached parchment paper, which means I can recycle it after. Thinking about the environment, probably small, probably have a big bright future ahead of them, and I ain't trying to scrub the planet fair. But anyhow, we ain't trying to go there because people is, anyhow, we're not going there. I'm gonna do tray at a time because I don't want to crowd my oven. So 1 tray at a time. 10 minutes in, and this is what it's gonna look like. So to make sure it roasts evenly and get coated evenly, I suggest you go in and you hit them a little mixy mix, set them back into the oven for another 10-15 minutes, and then allow it to cool. And then yo man, I'm telling you boy, one of the best little snacks you will ever have. Plus, as I said, Christmas is a few days away. Good little gift. Now it's not going to be cheap, because nuts are not cheap, but the point is, it's an idea if you want to make something. You know, when you were small, you used to make those stupid macaroni thing for your parents. Well, this is the macaroni thing that they used to put on the fridge. You could give them this instead. Back in the oven. 25 minutes later, and this is what we're left with. Perfectly glazed. You're gonna have that aroma of spiced nuts being roasted in the oven, and I'm telling you, the kitchen is smelling incredible. As a matter of fact, the entire house is smelling incredible. What we're gonna do now is allow this to cool down completely. Then we're gonna go in with our hands, break it up a little bit if they stick together, and have your glass containers all ready to store them in there. You need something that's airtight. Like I said, I'm making quite a bit, so there's a couple more trays to go into the oven there. Sup soldiers? Listen, if you enjoy this recipe, I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and click that bell notification thing. If you've made the recipe, take a picture and send it to me. Email address down here. I mean, trying to tell people the email address, them butts will take the address and do all kind of thing with it. And tag me on Instagram at Caribbean Pot. I really appreciate you guys, and thanks for being in my kitchen with me today. Irie? It'll take a couple hours to cool down. Now here's the thing. Depending on moisture plays a part in how sticky this will be. If you find for some reason that it's sticky, this is not sticky, but if you find that it's sticky, what you may want to do is put your oven on the very lowest setting. Yeah? Stick it in there and let it go for about an hour or so, and that low oven is going to dry out any moisture from it. So we have the nuts all here. So I'm just gonna and I'm only putting it into my bowl here because it's going to be easier for me to scoop it out. A cup. I'm going to use a cup, and I'm going to fill my containers that I'm storing them in. Chris here, CaribbeanPot.com. Always a pleasure having you all in the kitchen with me. A great holiday tradition you can start by creating these spice nuts and giving it out to your friends and family and co-workers and everybody else. They deserve this. Anyhow, real simple to put together. As I said, a little bit, might be a bit pricey, but if you head over to the Costco or the Sam's Club or one of those sort of wholesale box stores, you may be able to buy the mixed nuts. Now you can use any nuts you want, yeah, and any combination that you want. It's totally up to you. But anyhow, I do hope you all get an opportunity to give this one a try. Alright?